All right, the recording has started. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. This is the virtual Tech Talk cord cutting with the Martin County Library System. I am Ricky Donnelly. I'm the Electronic Resources Coordinator for the Martin County Library System, which is a fancy way of saying I'm the tech person. And with me, my co-host, Sylvie Safransky. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sylvie Safransky. I'm the Public Services Manager, and I'm really interested in this topic. Thanks for joining us, everyone.
And Sylvie will be taking care of making sure that the questions are seen in the chat and that we get to them as we go through. So again, feel free to send them through the chat. If we do have some breaks specifically for questions throughout the presentation, feel free to unmute yourself at that point and ask them if you'd like. So the objectives for this class, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my video. There we go. We want to define what cord cutting is. Many people aren't familiar exactly with that term, so we will define that. Identify the services and resources available to cord cutters. We want to identify the advantages and disadvantages of cord cutting, and we want to identify the hardware available to cord cutters. So to start, what does cord cutting mean? This refers to canceling or significantly scaling back of traditional paid cable plans and moving to consuming your media through streaming services. And if you wanted to do that, where would you start? Well, right now, there's never been a better time, to cut the cord. There's more resources available to you than there ever have been before. And when you start, you're going to want to ask yourself a few questions. Do you want to save money? This is a big one for people who want to cut the cord, and it is possible. We will go into that. Do you want to watch certain shows that are only available through streaming services? So you might have heard things like Disney Plus, which has The Mandalorian, or Hulu, which has The Handmaid's Tale. These are only available through them, and you want to watch them, so you're thinking of moving to those services. Are you upset over the services or billing practices of your provider? This is one that caught me for sure. Surprise bills are never fun. Having to talk to the retention department when you try to cancel, even setting it up, having to wait for a 5-hour time frame and they come 5.5 hours after that time frame to install all your services. This is something that doesn't really apply when you're a cord cutter. And ask yourself, do you have any deal breakers for shows you have to be able to watch? Morning news shows, local channels that just aren't available through these services. That is something you might want to keep in mind. And if you do have that in mind, be aware that there is some resources on the internet that could help you with that. One favorite of mine is justwatch.com. There you can go type in whatever show or movie you're looking for, and it will tell you if it's available on a streaming service and exactly which streaming services it's available on. So that is a really good resource to find out not only what service you might want to choose, but if any of the services work for what you want to watch. So streaming services. These are generally what people think of when they think of cord cutting. A streaming service is an online provider of entertainment. It could be music, movies, or TV shows that delivers the content via an internet connection to the subscriber's computer, TV, or mobile device. So as you can see in this nice picture, it's usually something that has the content somewhere else and it delivers it to you on whatever device you have. Streaming services are usually the first thing people think of. And for streaming services, the first service people usually think of is Netflix. Netflix is a pretty popular one that's out there right now. It's on just about everything. And it has a large library of content that's both licensed and their own. So it has probably the largest library out of the current streaming services that are available. And it's probably on the most devices. So that is available to you for $14 a month if you want it in HD, or you could pay $18 a month if you want it in an even higher fidelity, which is 4K. You probably have heard of that. A lot of TVs now are 4K by default. And if you wanted to utilize that, you would have to pay $18 a month. Like I said, some of the benefits of Netflix is they do have a very large library. A lot of their homegrown shows, a lot of the shows they've created themselves are highly rated. Things like House of Cards was one of their first big ones. They make a lot of movies now as well. And that's just, and they're pretty renowned at this point. Another option you might consider is Amazon Prime Video. A lot of people think of Amazon Prime and they think of the free shipping options, which is great. But at the same time, they do offer streaming. And the streaming, they have movies, they have TV shows. Their library tends to be a little less robust than Netflix is. But they're only $8.99 a month. And with that, you get 4K no matter what. If you have the capability to use 4K, you can watch their 4K content in 4K. So you do save a little money there. And if you want to add on top of that things like the free shipping, it's $12.99 a month. So at that point, you're getting the benefit of the free shipping and the streaming for actually less than the cheapest price of Netflix. And one of the new kids on the block, Disney Plus. Disney Plus is only $6.99 a month. It's the cheapest out of all the options. It's still available on quite a few devices. Maybe not quite as many as Netflix, but I don't think you'll run into too many problems with finding it on a device that you're either already have or want to purchase. The downside of Disney Plus, they don't tend to offer anything other than content they own. Of course, they are Disney, so they own a lot of content. For Disney, just with their content, you get all the Disney movies, including those that have been in the vault. You get Pixar movies, you get the Marvel movies, you get Star Wars movies and TV shows, and you get National Geographic's content. So all that's included because it's owned by Disney. And the upside to that is since none of it, or since all of it rather, is owned by Disney, none of it's going to suddenly go away. So that's streaming. That's more of an on-demand service, something that you go through their library, you see what's available, you watch it on demand. But what if you have certain channels you like to watch, certain shows you like to watch on certain channels? That is, for that, they have the option of something that I call the traditional cable-like service. Those are becoming much more popular now as an alternative to traditional cable. And they are similar to streaming services in the fact that they go through your internet connection and onto your device, usually via some type of app or something like that. And you still get the channel experience. You still get the experience of being able to watch shows live. You still get the experience of watching local channels and sports channels. And these are available, but they're in a package that tends to be a little more straightforward than cable. Cable, you tend to choose from a bunch of different packages, and you really have to pick and choose depending on what channels you like and what channels you don't. And this allows you, most of the offerings through this offer a similar experience, but a much easier decision. So let's go through a few of those. One being YouTube TV. It is, most people have heard of YouTube. YouTube is the place you go to watch content on demand and cat videos and things like that. But they do offer a television package, which goes through an app and you watch it and you go through channels. You control it with a remote. It has a TV guide, everything you would normally see if you had Comcast and their cable box. And that's all available. They offer local channels, they offer sports, and one of their big benefits is they do offer DVR and it's cloud-based and unlimited storage. So the whatever you'd like is recorded. It's saved on Google server. So, you don't have to worry about anything happening to the device that it's on, switching out the device if need be. And you get all the storage you want for all the shows or movies you want to record on there. And the benefit of that is, of course, just if you're familiar with DVRs, you can skip commercials, you can watch it later. If you're not home, it takes care of it and you're good to go. One of their competitors, and that is, by the way, $65 a month. They have just the one package, but it includes everything they offer. Another option is Hulu plus live TV. This is a bit of a hybrid solution. Hulu is an on-demand service. It offers quite a few TV shows, mostly some movies. And those TV shows, you could either pay a monthly fee and get just their on-demand. So anything that's in their library, similar to Netflix, you can watch it as you want. They have a free option, which actually you watch some commercials, but you get the other content for free. But they also have a on-demand plus live TV option. And this actually offers about 65 channels, some local news, some sports, and their on-demand options. So the reason you might want this is it does offer a DVR. It offers 50 hours of cloud storage. So you can't you can't record everything you want, but you can supplement what you record with things they just have available to you for streaming. So it's a really nice hybrid solution. They are offering more and more as time comes out. They're really kind of coming at YouTube TV hard for the title, because right now most places do recommend YouTube TV as the best kind of bang for your buck. Hulu plus live TV is $55 a month. Another package, which actually is more similar to traditional cable, is Sling TV. And the reason I say that is because although it is an app and it can be installed on multiple devices to watch whatever channels are available, it offers packages rather than just being you pay one thing and you get everything. It does offer a orange package or a blue package, and each one of those are $30 a month. If you go to their website, it does differ slightly depending on when it's available, but you can see their lineup for each package and decide which one you want. If you do want both, you can pay, it's actually only $45 a month. So you don't actually pay $60 if you want both. So there is still a benefit to getting it. It is still more straightforward overall than regular cable. And you do still get a 10-hour DVR available to you if you go through that service. So it is still a nice alternative. And one of the other ones that's probably the most like regular cable because it's through a cable company is AT&T TV Now, which again, this is an app that you would install either on your phone or have on any streaming device you might have, which if you do not, we'll be going into that later. But this offers a multitude of packages like you might see if you're trying to choose an Xfinity or AT&T traditional cable package. But they do offer two featured packages at least. One with 45 plus channels for $55 a month, or one with 60 plus channels and HBO, and that's $80 a month. So those are the two main packages. They do have some that are in between that, but without HBO. And then they also offer, if you want to get things like the movie channel, Cinemax, things like that, you pay extra per channel, but it's still all through AT&T Now. So it simplifies the viewing experience. It makes it so you can just use the AT&T TV Now and see what's available through your TV guide and all that all in one place. So if you've decided you want to at least consider cutting the cord, what are the advantages to it? Flexibility to choose exactly what you want to watch. There's a lot of times you get something like Xfinity and the channels you want to watch just aren't available. They just aren't there for you. You have to find some other means to watch the thing you want to watch. A big one is it's easy to cancel and resume the services you want. One of the biggest problems with going through a cable company is if you decide you want to get rid of Comcast and get AT&T, not only do you have to go through their retention office and get offered all these promotions before they'll let you cancel, but then they have to come and get all the equipment. Then someone else has to come in and give you all the equipment for the other one and set it up in the house. With all of these solutions, almost anything you already have can be used interchangeably with these solutions. It's just an app on your phone like Netflix, where you say, I want to go online. You log into Netflix, you say, I don't want Netflix anymore, and you don't have Netflix anymore. Same thing with YouTube TV, same thing with Sling TV. You just log in and say, I don't want this anymore, and you don't have it anymore. And then you subscribe to the next thing. And instead, you can watch on multiple devices without the need for a cable box. And not only just a cable box, but any extra specialized equipment, you don't have to have a tech come out and install it in your home. If you have 2 phones and a tablet and a PC, all of these solutions will work on all of those, at least one at a time, if not all at once. The services are also available outside the house. You go on a trip, you want to watch your Netflix library, you can watch your Netflix library. You want to watch whatever is available through, whatever's currently on right now, your favorite show. If you have YouTube TV and your phone or your laptop and you're somewhere else, you could still use it. And there's a big may, it may be less expensive. And we'll get into why that's a may instead of is a little later. So what are the disadvantages? Why would you maybe not want to do this? Well, you may need to subscribe to multiple services to get exactly what you want. You can get everything you want, but you might have to subscribe to both Netflix and Hulu, or YouTube TV and Netflix, or Sling TV and Hulu, just the streaming part. You might have to mix and match what you want to get exactly what you want to watch. Due to licensing agreements, and this is why things like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon TV have actually, or Amazon Prime rather, have started making their own stuff. Licensing agreements can make it so the shows are removed on a regular basis. The big one right now is The Office is being removed from Netflix. So because of that, a lot of these places are making their own shows, but the downside to that is you have to have Netflix to watch Netflix shows, although sometimes they sell them separately, but you would have to pay additional to get that. This definitely can be more complicated than traditional cable. Sometimes if you're going to 2 or 3 different apps and you don't remember which show is available on which app, it could be very difficult to remember which is which. And there's no great way right through your phone or right through your TV to see which app offers what. There are sites like that, justwatch.com, which could be very helpful, but it's not as easy as just bringing up a TV guide as it would be for traditional cable. The initial investment in hardware and setup can be time consuming. It doesn't tend to be that expensive in general, although it can be depending on what you want, but you have to find out which devices have which offerings on them. So if you've heard of Roku or Apple TV, those devices may have an app. They most certainly have an app for Netflix, but do they have an app for things like the free offerings like Crackle or Peacock, which are free offerings of streaming that actually you don't have to pay, you just watch commercials, and because of that, you can see them for free, but they're lesser known and therefore not on every device. And in the end, with all these factors in mind, it can actually be more expensive. A lot of times the cord cutting movement, so to speak, is not meant to be cheaper. It's just meant to break away from the cable companies and not be surprised by your bill. But that doesn't mean your bill is necessarily going to be cheaper. It might just be consistent instead. All right, so let's see. I saw a couple things in the chat. Sylvie, what kind of questions?
Yes, we had some very good questions in the chat. Like the first one, I'll take them in reverse, had to do with, it sounds like all this still requires an internet connection and provider, correct?
That is correct. Even the term cutting the cord, it's really just meant as cutting the cable cord. Everything in this will still require at least internet.
Another question had to do with device and user limits. Can you speak a little bit about what kind of limits come with those alternative services?
Absolutely. So just for an example, Netflix, the $14 plan does limit you to 3 devices. They do have even cheaper plans that actually limit you to only 1. The benefit of this, though, is even though it's only 3 devices, that's 3 devices simultaneously. And that's the case for all of these. So let's say you want to install the app on 20 different devices, but you're only going to use 3 at any given time. You can still do that. You can even log in and do it and to all the devices at once, as long as you're not currently streaming on 3 different devices, you could still use it. And as far as users go, generally you have the one user, and then a lot of these offer profiles, and most of the time there's no limit to that. So Netflix, again, is an example. You log in at whoever is in charge of paying for the account, but then you can make a children's profile that, will give you recommendations based on that child's age. You can make something that for, your significant other, and something for you. If you have different tastes in movies and TV shows, it'll give recommendations based on what you've watched on those profiles. So again, user, it's actually just whoever's in charge, but generally speaking, you can make as many profiles as you want.
And then another question had to do with the cable-like options, and actually all the options, all of those come with a fee. There's none of them that seem to be free. And the second part of that question was, can you have like pay less if you want to further limit your access? So if you just wanted a few networks, or if you just wanted a few things, are there cheaper ways or free ways to get those things?
There are free ways to get certain things. I actually completely missed it in my notes, but I did have a free option list, which the Peacock network is one. It offers free options with ads, and that's just completely free. A movie channel called Crackle is another, and that again is free with ads. HBO actually offers some of their older TV shows like The Sopranos, like The Wire, for free. So the free options are out there, and you can find them. But as far as dumbing down the package a bit, so to speak, for things like YouTube TV and Hulu, they don't really offer that. There have been movements in the past to make a literal piecemeal a la carte channel option, which means, I just want these 3 channels, give me a price. They've never really worked just because of the way licensing works for a lot of these channels, and the way these channels offer, because they own other channels that they want part of the package. It's very difficult to say, I really only watch 4 or 5 channels. Can I just pay for those? So instead, yeah, it's these packages. The closest we have to that is something like Netflix that offers on a per device basis. They have 1, 3, you can get 5 if you pay a little more. That's really the closest we have.
Okay, more questions coming in. Is there a way to get the many shows of PBS?
PBS does have an app as well. You can get that. I don't know if they offer everything, but I can research that. I'll make a note and research that specifically a little more.
Do the services offer premium for extra money? Services like sports shows that charge, that could be automatically billed against your credit card?
So this is, I assume what they mean is something like the NFL Sunday Ticket. As an
ESPN
add-on.
Plus? ESPN
yeah.
Plus?
At the moment, the only one that had that was a discontinued service, unfortunately, so I won't get into it, but it has happened in the past. Right now, no, unfortunately. Anything that's available on its own for sports tends to remain on its own. Like I said, the only one I knew of was NFL Plus being offered through a service. As far as I know, it's no longer offered through a streaming service.
Okay. And then I had the same question. You mentioned Netflix having an option for one device, and then you mentioned that the 3-device thing had to do with simultaneous. So the question that comes to mind is, if you pay for the 1-device lower cost, can you still install it on 3 devices as long as you connect only 1 device at a time?
Yes. If you, and you can install it on, dozens of devices, as long as you can even stay logged into each one of those devices. But if you try to watch on 2 different ones, it'll just warn you, hey, this is already being used. And then you can just continue to watch on the device you were already watching on. All of
And
this
then,
has to do with simultaneous use.
okay, and then there's finally one I can answer, maybe partially. Somebody's asking, how do you access Peacock? And then if you have a smart TV, it should be part of the apps that are offered right there when you browse the apps on your smart TV. Now, if you don't have a smart TV, Ricky, how would you access Peacock?
There are a few different ways. One of the simplest, if you don't have anything that can access apps, you could bring it up on a laptop and plug it into your TV. Most laptops have HDMI, and that's usually the easiest way. You, other than that, you could cast it, which if you're familiar with that, it's if you have a Chromecast device, or even some TVs have it built in to mirror your screen. You could do that from your computer, usually through a Chrome browser, but that's a little more complicated. Yeah, usually getting an app device like a Roku, if it's not already built into your TV, or an Apple TV or something like that, is the easiest way to go.
All right, and then one last one before we let you continue, and then we'll continue to take in the questions in the chat, and then we'll go over them after the next break. But Comcast has a Netflix app, and they charge for that. Do you also need a Netflix account that you have to pay for as well?
No, this is actually something Comcast started doing a couple years ago. They realized so many people like Netflix and had cable and Netflix that they basically just put it on their cable box and said, just pay for your Netflix account through us. So it's part of your Comcast bill, but it's the exact same as if you paid for it without Comcast. So it's all just one.
Okay, thank
You don't
you.
have to pay extra for that.
Okay. I think we were all leading into your next segment.
Okay. So, how does one watch all of these great offerings? The hardware being used is what most people call streaming devices, things you might have heard of, like a Roku, like an Amazon Fire Stick, like a Google Chromecast, but there's so many more out there. And it's not always easy to differentiate and make a decision based on based on looking at them. So there's a few things you're probably going to want to take into account when you're thinking of them. First of all, price, of course. They do range from $49 to $149, and that depends on their size, the power of that device, things like that. And if you don't really know where to get started to compare them, there's quite a few sites that have already done this for you. PCMag.com has a section on streaming devices. CNET is one I've used for years, and they do a great job of breaking down individual devices. And Tom'sGuide.com actually has really good comparisons between devices as to what you might have to give up if you go with this one versus this one. So these will be in the presentation notes. So as I said, when I send them, you'll have those links, but those are just a few of the options to help you decide what you may be looking for. But some things to keep in mind while you're looking into these devices. Do you want 4K? That is a big one. These devices tend to be a little more expensive, but as 4K becomes the standard, that is changing. And they're also generally larger devices. They're still not something I would call large devices. So if you're looking to hide them away or keep them out of sight or be able to go into a certain compartment of an entertainment center, for the most part, they'll fit no matter what, but you might have to take that into account when looking at 4K devices. Do you prefer an actual remote control you can hold in your hand and go through and skip and fast forward? That may seem like an odd thing to say, but Chromecast specifically is a device that lets you use your phone, and you hit a symbol on your phone and it throws Netflix onto your TV, and you're watching and controlling Netflix from your phone. You don't have any remote control. The newest model of Chromecast does actually include a remote, but it's uh, it's not the standard for Chromecast. Would you prefer to mirror your entire screen? So this is a little different from Chromecast. Casting means showing Netflix specifically. Mirroring your screen could mean your entire screen. This could be if you want to use it for presentations, or if you want to cast, photos you have and you want to cast the entire screen onto your device. Apple does this particularly well with what they call AirPlay, and they were one of the first to really come out with this. And it literally throws your entire iPhone or tablet onto the screen, and it lets you show them exactly what's on it and what apps you have, and open up apps and show people how to use them. It's a little more robust than just showing the app on the screen. One that some people prefer is to play games on this device as well. And most of these devices can play games that are kind of mobile phone games that are adapted for these devices. But something like the NVIDIA Shield, which is probably the largest of these devices, it looks more like a mini computer, can actually play some pretty powerful games in comparison to things like the Apple products or the Roku or the Chromecast. So that is, if that's something that's important to you, you're going to pay more for it. That's more in the $150 range, but it is something that you might want to consider. And a very important thing is, do you use devices from Amazon, Apple, Google already? A lot of these brands have an ecosystem to where the cross functionality of them is very robust, but doesn't work so well if you kind of piecemeal it with different companies. For example, an Amazon Echo works best with an Amazon Fire Stick, because you could say, hey, start up Netflix and play this show, and that'll work on Netflix. But if you have an Apple TV and an Amazon Echo, you may be able to get some workarounds that will like launch Netflix, or maybe at least let you play and pause, but you can't give it more complicated instructions than that to work with the Apple TV. So depending on what brands you already have, you might want to take that into consideration when buying more hardware. Now, it's very important that you don't fall for scams when it comes to this hardware. For quite a while, this is dumbed down quite a bit, but for quite a while, you saw all over the place boxes like this that promised free movies, free TVs, free sports, and this is what people thought of when they thought of cord cutting. Oh, why would I pay for cable? All this stuff is free if I just buy this box. Well, they're not free for real. They're free using an illegal streaming app that's installed on that box. So the box itself is legal. This is where it really kind of got muddled. Selling the box with some software on it to make it easier to watch Netflix and Hulu and stuff was fine. This is no different than a Roku. But these boxes also had, and you could always tell because it promises things like free movies, free TV, and sometimes even say free movies that are still in theaters. These boxes offer that, and people fall for it and they buy it, and then the box has to get shut down because they're actually violating terms of service in some way. This tick box specifically, the hardware is still being sold, but a few years ago they had to pay $25 million because in fines because they sold it with the app installed that allowed people to watch illegally streamed movies, TV shows, and sports. So always keep that in mind. If it seems too good to be true, it is. don't get something like that. Another option you have, these are all devices that you plug into your TV, the ones we've talked about, that you plug into your TV and they're separate and they have a completely different interface and you go from there. You could also get the apps right on your TV. Almost all HD TVs now have these streaming services built right into them. They work a lot better than they did a few years back. And what they call them is smart TVs. So if you see smart TV, it usually means that these apps are already on there. And smart TVs probably will take away the need to even buy a Roku because TCL specifically, the apps, the interface they use is Roku. It's built right in. You don't even need to buy a separate one. Apple TV is built into a few things. They have, trying to think of the last one, Fire TV. I don't believe is built into anything, but similar interfaces to Fire TV and Amazon Prime things available through a Fire TV stick normally are built in to a lot of TVs now. It's almost impossible to even get a TV with that's not a smart TV now. So why would you do this instead of getting a separate device? Well, you want to consider which services does it offer. Most TVs offer all the major ones. So you're going to see things. Sylvie just mentioned she does have Peacock on a TV, but that's not one of the most popular services. So some TVs might not have that. But they're definitely going to have things like YouTube. They're definitely going to have things like Netflix. They're definitely going to have Hulu. But some even don't have AT&T TV now. So definitely keep in mind what you're trying to stream to it and take that into consideration when deciding if you want to use the TV. If you're looking to buy a TV, it's easy enough to say, I want the TV with the things I want. But if you already have one, you're kind of stuck with the apps that are already on there. Another one is, do you want to mirror your TV screen or mirror a screen onto your TV? Again, AirPlay through Apple does this particularly well. And Apple has actually opened up that to work with things other than Apple TV devices. So if you want to take your iPhone and use AirPlay, or take your tablet, your Apple tablet, iPad, and do AirPlay, if you have a Samsung, a Sony, a Vizio, and an LG, those all can use AirPlay. So if that's important to you, you should look into those brands specifically. Otherwise, you'll have to get an Apple TV in order to do it. But even with all this, even if you want to use your TV for most of these things, you can still add a device. You can still plug in a Roku. You can still plug in an Amazon Fire Stick, and it's not going to take away your option for what's on the TV. It'll just add to it in case there's anything missing. So you always still have that option when using your TV as your means to view the apps. Okay, so that's all the fancy stuff, the things to consider. But what if with all this, you still don't quite get the local channels, you still don't quite get the sports that you're looking for?
Hey,
We're going
Ricky,
to antennas.
before we get into antennas, I had a couple hardware questions that came through, and so I wanted to make sure that I could slide them in.
Sure.
You mentioned that you can add a streaming device to a smart TV, but can you run a device like Roku hooked up to an older TV?
As long as that TV, Roku only uses HDMI at this point, but as long as it's an HDMI connection, yes. Older HD TVs, but when you get into things like the larger CRT TVs, some of those have HDMI, and in that case, you can absolutely hook it up still, but it's going to be a harder task for TVs that old. It's usually, if they're flat TVs, yes.
And also, what are the speed requirements for your internet connection to get into all this streaming?
Well, that can depend as well. Let me get some exact figures real quick here. Because 4K obviously will require more than regular HD, but let's see. So it's for 4K, Netflix, iTunes, and Amazon all suggest 25 megabits per second. And for HD, for standard HD, it's actually much lower, only 2 megabits per second for just regular HD. And that is even, some are saying that 2 megabits can handle some 4K content as well. So it can differ, but if you want the best and you want the 4K, 25 megabits is the highest that they suggest.
And for a low tech solution, I know that when you do the Google speed test, if you just Google speed test, it, in layman's term, it gives you that speed, and then it usually say your connection can support streaming from multiple device, or it'll say your connection can support, like it'll define what you can do if you run that Google speed test on your connection. Okay, sorry. Back to antennas. There's
Great
more
question.
questions, but I'll wait for the break.
Okay. So antennas, yes, they are still a thing, and they are actually pretty popular for cord cutters. The reason being, again, a lot of local channels may not be available on any of the services, and local sports might not be available through them either. So a lot of people use the antennas to kind of supplement that option. So how do you choose an antenna? Well, it's been quite a while since I don't personally use them. So if I were to try to figure out which antenna is right for me, there is a great resource called antennasdirect.com. What that does is you go there, you punch in your zip code, and it'll give you this nice breakdown. You'll see exactly this. It'll give you a price range of antennas, indoor, outdoor, or attic, or both. And it'll let you know how many channels you can expect to get in your area using these antennas. And the reason I say this is such a great resource is because look, either $60 you can get 47 channels, or $149.99 you can get 48 channels. So unless you really want that that extra channel, you're probably better off just saving the money and going for a nice indoor antenna for the channels you want. Now, the antenna itself is not the only thing you'll need though. These signals come in and they're encrypted, they're scrambled. So in order to descramble these, you'll need a tuner or receiver. And I say tuner or receiver because they are basically they are the same device. They're interchangeable terms. If you go somewhere and ask for a tuner, they'll know for your antenna, or you ask for a receiver for your antenna, they'll know what you're looking for. So again, this goes from your antenna to this box, then from the box to your TV, and then that will actually allow you to see the signal that comes through. The easiest way and the cheapest way to get this done is if your TV has this built in. Some models still have a built-in tuner right on the TV. And if that's the case, you just go straight from your antenna into the coaxial cable into your TV, and then adjust the antenna until you get the channels you want. And that is simple. But if your TV doesn't have it, which is becoming much more common these days, you will have to purchase a separate one. There are a couple options, and as again, cord cutting has become more popular, more services have offered them. One is the Amazon Fire TV Recast. It's a separate box, and what it does is you plug your antenna into that box, and then that box descrambles it and offers an app on the Amazon TV that you can watch all your shows and all the channels it picks up right through your Amazon TV. So if you have an Amazon Fire Stick, I should say, or Fire TV, if you have an Amazon Fire device hooked up to your TV and you use this, it all integrates into one. It makes it very simple for you. So that is a nice benefit of that. If you prefer to go a less restrictive route, in which case you don't want to use Amazon, you want to use some other app, there is the Tableau Dual Lite, which is actually a receiver that you plug the antenna into, and it sends a wireless signal and allows you to use an app, a Tableau app on multiple devices. So if you have a Roku, there's a Tableau app for that. You bring it up, you see the channels that your antenna is picking up through the Roku. If you have a Android TV, same thing. So it's available in multiples. And a big benefit to that is it can go up to 2 devices. It's a dual antenna or dual wireless option, which means most times whatever the antenna is plugged into, that's the only place you could watch it. This particular device lets you watch it in at least 2 different places. And the TiVo Edge. The TiVo used to be synonymous with the DVR. They were the first to start letting you record shows, all that good stuff. They are still around, and they offer a cord cutting solution called the TiVo Edge, which functions more like a traditional cable box. You plug in the antenna to it, it brings up, it'll scan all the stations, it'll give you a nice interface for a TV guide, and it'll give you a nice interface for recording as well. Does have DVR functions. So you have that option if you'd like to stick with something more cable-like or traditional like that. So that's just about it. In summary, before making a decision, think about your overall goals for cord cutting. Options for services include on-demand streaming, cable-like experiences, or a combination of both. There are many streaming devices available depending on if you want to watch right from your device, mirror your phone or tablet, or even play games through your streaming services. And antennas can be used to round out the content available to you. You can use it to watch local channels and sports that are not available through any of the streaming services. And with that summary, any questions?
We do have questions, Ricky. We have
All right.
a plethora of questions, but I'm going to try to consolidate a few. I mean, some of them go back to, what you were talking about, the Fire TV integrating with the antenna. And, like some people wanted you to go back over some of this again. And there's other things too that Amazon tells you when they sell you that Fire Stick, like that you get free Hulu. And so do you need a Hulu app, and how do you get free Hulu through an Amazon stick? We needed a few.
A lot of times I believe it's a bit misleading when they say that, because Hulu has a free option and the Fire Stick offers the Hulu app. Okay. So it sounds like they're just kind of promotion speak for that. It's not really you're getting Hulu for free because you bought the Fire Stick. You're getting a way to watch free Hulu.
Some Hulu.
because you have a Fire Stick. But that's the same for Roku. That's the same for an Android TV device.
Okay. Can you go again about like the antenna and the recast on the Fire Stick?
Yes. The recast, basically, you plug the antenna into the recast, and that makes available an antenna app, so to speak. So you see Netflix, you see YouTube, and then you'll see My Antenna. And you go into that and you see all the channels your antenna is picking up. And that you need the recast in order to integrate it like that.
Okay. And then does Hulu offer live TV options?
The live TV, that is a separate, their streaming and live TV are separate, but you can buy them together. There is live options on Hulu. The live TV option is there. That's the $55 a month option.
Okay.
And that is not free, unfortunately.
Antenna questions. If I'm in a building, somebody's in a building with solid concrete walls, they get very poor FM reception. Does that mean that an antenna will not work, or is it related? How can they tell?
That's when you go into, sometimes the only way to tell, a lot of these channels that you're getting are estimates based on, just your location. it doesn't take into account if you have a home with metal frame or, wooden versus concrete and all that. In that case, you more have to look into, do you need an indoor antenna or is there too much interference? Then will an attic antenna work? And if that won't work, you might have to do an outdoor antenna, which they make them specifically to hold up to the elements and everything, but you'd have to have it on your roof at that point.
Okay. Something about power supplies, those tuner and receiver, will they still work if I'm in a power outage and I have separate power source for my TV?
So something like a backup battery, these would have to be plugged into that as well. So something like a uninterruptible power supply, which has a battery that keeps things on for so long while you have a power outage. These can work through that, but you would need one that can handle the power of all of that at once in order to keep it going. They don't have
So
batteries built in.
Yeah, they all need power. I think
Now, if we're talking about like your phone and casting to the TV, the Chromecast plugs into your TV, but you also need to plug it into an outlet. Like nothing's powered directly through the TV, not generally anyway.
Okay. I think as I'm looking to see if I missed anything, I want to say people shared some great info about PBS streaming. There's a app with some of the content available, and then donors get access to a passport package where they can get all the content from PBS. Like if you're a PBS.
It's not surprising that PBS has a lot of free options. I mean, they're great channels. So, yeah, like I said, though, I'll look into as much as I can and get that back to you when we send out the presentation.
Is there signal boosters to speed up your coax cable or your existing antenna?
Yes, that's a really good point. I did see that now. If you're having trouble getting the signal, they do offer signal boosters. So that is a separate device. Sometimes it's included with the antenna. I think some of the offerings they had on that site mentioned that it comes with a booster as well. That will help regardless. So if you're having trouble picking up certain stations and it doesn't have a booster, adding a booster will help you pick up those stations that you might be having trouble with.
I think that covers the questions we had. Oh, one new message. Oh, the boosters aren't very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
People appreciated the program, Ricky. Thank you.
Hey, I like to hear that part. Yeah, if there's no other questions though, I just want to mention we do offer a great service called lynda.com. That is a teaching tool that goes through presentations with experts on anything as simple as, basic Microsoft Office, if you want to get started with that, or even something as complicated as if you want to pass your certification exam for high-end networking. It has all of those things included. It is free with your library card. So just go to our database site at library.martin.fl.us and go to lynda.com. You put in your library card, create a password, but soon use your PIN, and you'll be able to use all their courses that are available. And if you want to learn more about our classes, be sure to continue to visit martin.evance.info/signup. That'll show all of our current offerings. And if you want tech classes specifically, you can filter through with that and let us know what you think. If you go to the library survey, if you search library survey at martin.fl.us, you'll see our survey for Idea Labs and other things. And you could let us know if you have any suggestions in the future for improvements. We're always looking to offer more on what you're looking for. So, all right. And that's that. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate you coming, and I hope this was helpful.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Ricky.